Welcome to Sexually Charged Radio on 93.3 FM in the Guelph, Ontario area and online. I am not here with Thomas today. This is Ruthie. My pronouns are they and their, and I am recording with three other wonderful people from a secret location of leather debauchery, and you will figure that out as we go. I am here with...
Buttons.
Hi, Buttons. Thank you for being on today.
Yeah.
And...
Storm.
Hello, Storm. Did the two of you want to give your pronouns?
I use she and they pronouns.
Thanks, Buttons. And Storm?
Yes, I use she and banshee.
That's wonderful. And Sugar.
I'm
Hi.
Sugar. I use she, but I consider myself gender nonconforming.
Wonderful. Well, I'm excited to be here talking with all of you. So I think my icebreaker question will be what kind of footwear best represents your kink persona or your kink self?
Whoa.
Okay, I got to be honest. The actual footwear that represents my kink self is very high heels until the bottom is blindfolded, and after that, bare feet or sneakers.
Love it. Love it.
No, mine are cowboy boots.
Yes.
I don't know how, because sometimes like you need the black like cowhide, then sometimes you need like the like elk hide cowboy boots, and then sometimes you need the cowboy boots with like the metal heel tips.
Nice. So the elk would be a softer leather.
Yeah, softer, gentler leather.
But not always.
Yeah, and then the cowhide, well, you know, cowhide, if it's thick enough, could take anything.
There you go. All right. Buttons top that. Or bottom that, whichever.
I won't try to top it. But kink is one of the only times where I wear a little heel and a wedge because I like being comfortable too.
Yes. I used to be a kitten heel fan for that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Now I just like the clumpy black leather boots. That's me. They're heavy, but they're highly functional. And they're multi-purpose. So I appreciate that as well. And I like boot blacks, so that works out well.
Well, once when I was having a pelvic exam with the OBGYN, it was like the first time, well, actually she was a DO, she was giving me a pelvic exam. So I wore my cowboy boots because I wasn't comfortable. It was like, so it's like, you know, you might as well turn a pelvic exam into a scene.
Yeah,
there you
absolutely.
go. Or just tap in your power, at least. One of the two.
Yeah.
So our question for discussion, we have two different topics. So let's start with, what if folks are going to their very first leather play party? And first we should probably explore what that even means. Like, what is a leather kink play party? And how should they get ready to go to said party? What are your top tips?
Well, Sugar, I went to my first leather play party like, with you.
Oh, I feel like there's a good story here.
To me, we digged into the closet and we found some basic black that looked good on you. If you don't have any fancy fetish gear, just wear basic black and avoid athletic sneakers, and you're good to go.
Is denim okay?
Denim's okay if it's the right denim.
Black denim.
Black denim works, or crisp, good, well turned out, sexy jeans could work. But nobody wants to see you in schlubby jeans.
Yes, they have to be like purposeful denim.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And a black t-shirt goes a long way.
Yeah.
Because you can do so much with a t-shirt.
Black, sleeveless, men's style tank.
But most of all, do not wear an outfit that is going to make you uncomfortable and self-conscious. Like, there was this guy who emailed me like 17 emails because he wanted to go out to before his first play party and spend like $600 on a full latex bodysuit. And he was going to be hot, he was going to be uncomfortable, and people were going to be allergic to latex, and it wasn't really the style of this particular group of people. And so I was like, no, why don't you just come to the play party and come to the play party, see what it's like. If you like the group, then buy something that works for these types of people.
So maybe the first time going to a party like this is a time to kind of like explore and see what the tone of the crowd is like.
Yeah, I would say don't go out
before
and
you
spend
invest.
don't go out and spend a ton of money. You know, one of the people coming to one of my play parties went to a thrift shop and got a bunch of stuff in black that is going to work for her. And then if she ends up coming off, and she'll buy what she thinks works for the.
And then buy something you know that you love to wear and feel comfortable
and
and that you feel hot in.
And it doesn't matter if it's leathery. Like, can I say what you're wearing now?
Sure.
Buttons is wearing this beautiful flowered dress that's kind of skin tight and really sexy with the sleeves halfway up the arm, and she looks phenomenal. And that's not at all kinky in theory because she wasn't at a kinky event when she wore it, but it would be perfectly great because she looks like she had fun dressing for the party, that she's happy to be here.
So, and I have great boobs.
And she has great
That's
boobs.
totally true. And I'm looking at them right now.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking.
Never. So I'm wondering how much like the role of the person attending or the nature of the party impacts this too, because I'm thinking like sometimes I'm very envious of some submissives that I go to some parties with, because if they want, they can just be naked. They can wear some underwear that's cute yet comfortable. There seems to be like a range, and I feel like as a top person, there isn't quite as much range as far as what's expected, although I will wear whatever I feel like when I get there anyway, because I'm not 21 anymore and I'm more comfortable with myself. What are your thoughts? Are there differences based on the role or the kind of play that you want to have?
I think so. Like, for example, if it's new or I don't know the people, I will present as a top. Mm-hmm. But an upcoming party, someone I know is going to be there, so it's just like, yeah, I'll bottom to you. And then I bottom to them at a previous party, at the Flea, back in February of the year before last. Mm-hmm. So I think that's kind of a factor.
Does it change how you get ready for the party?
I think
and then
so.
Not just outfits, but what you pack or your mental energy or whatever.
Yeah, it does. Because you're like, rather than just sort of going where you don't know anybody, or you're kind of, let's see who I can meet and play with. Yeah. Then you're packing, you're preparing, you're dressing with with somebody specific in mind, and you're thinking purposely, what would they like? Like I went out shopping, and I was thinking, what was so and so like?
Mm-hmm. What did you buy?
Okay, this is so uncharacteristic of me. I actually bought pink panties.
Look at that.
Right, awesome.
All right. So what are you going to be channeling?
I'm a total, genderqueer. Total old school butch woman. And I do not know. It's probably been 15 years since I owned a pair of pink panties.
You're saying it like that, but you picked them out. You picked them out for this event. So it means something.
Yes, because I'm going to be bottoming in a very submissive way.
Okay. So that helps you channel the kind of energy that you want to have for the kind of play that you're looking forward to for that event.
Yes, but I'm still going to wear my red plaid like I'm wearing.
Yes, still you.
Absolutely.
Well, you would fit in well in Canada.
So I'm going to totally fuck with gender.
Nice, nice. So how does the kind of play you want to have impact the way you get ready to go to a party?
Yeah, well, it does depend on who I'm playing with. I have some lovers who are so good at playing with my clothes, and some lovers who are just take clothes off, But the lovers who are really good at playing with my clothes, I think about what would be what bras are fun to have my tits hanging out of, or what clothes I don't mind being ripped off, So, and for some play parties, not just for warmth, because our secret leather location is in a colder part, and I'm not from a colder part of the States, but I'll think about layers. My femme likes to have different sort of outfits through the night. And so, and at the end of the night, I'm thinking about what is going to be fucking easy for me to put back on when I'm done,
Yes.
But also don't want to be wearing very much.
So I pretty much always, if it's not at the location where I'm spending the night, bring something like an oversized t-shirt and some very comfortable pants or long skirt. Yeah. Because I don't want to put myself back together at the end. And I'm sweaty and I'm disheveled and I'm pleased with life. And I just want somebody to pack my things and carry them out for me. And I go, yeah. How about you, Sugar? How do you get ready? How does the type of play you want to have impact the way you get ready for an event?
Honestly, sometimes I have all kinds of ideas, but in the end, I often just go for comfort. Yeah. I have some comfortable outfits that I look really good in, and so sometimes I just go with that. Yeah. No fuss, no muss. Black pants, hot t-shirt, vest, comfortable shoes, and a big full toy bag.
Yeah, totally. But that also channels the energy you want to bring in, comfortable, able to do lots of different things, it sounds like, and each of us talking about how we can feel ourselves. I remember when I first started doing kink and leather events, and I would have been 17, 18, something like that. And I didn't have a lot of role modeling around. There weren't, to the best of my knowledge, or at least to my access, and the internet wasn't such a thing. It was a thing, but it wasn't such a thing then. So I didn't have munches or kind of mentorship or stuff. And the folks who put themselves out as mentors were often really kind of predatory folks who were looking for fresh meat kind of thing. So you had to be careful. And so for me, like I was learning about how one might present themselves really just from the porn that I was seeing or from catalogs of fetish wear type stuff. So it was a lot of very uncomfortable, restrictive clothing for feminine bodies and heels that I didn't feel like stable or capable in. And so I did a lot of trying to impersonate until I figured out what I wanted later on, which is really when I got more in touch with like the gay male and butch leather communities, if we can call them communities, groups, demographics. And that really impacted the kind of play I could have, because before I was dressing in ways that felt comfortable for me or bringing gear that felt comfortable for me, I also felt like I was doing play that was very performative. Like it was made to look a certain way to people looking. And I didn't understand why I was always exhausted. Like it was satisfying some part of me, but it was also exhausting me simultaneously. So I spent a lot of time thinking about how we get ready and like how comfortable we are with what works for us, even if it's not what the catalog was or what the porn was. So I'm wondering, oh yeah, sure.
I just want to say one of the outfits that I saw at a play party that I thought was so hot was just a woman who just was wearing a bunch of lingerie that looked great on her. She was super comfortable and it was covering her, so it was leaving enough to the imagination, but it was just one of the best play party outfits I ever saw, and totally non-traditional. No leather, no collar, no boots.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm older than you. My first introduction to like BDSM and kink and fetish wear was not visual through the actual visual. I don't know if people remember Pat Califia back in the late 1980s and what was it, Macho Sluts?
Absolutely.
And the early novels.
That's a book. You should all be looking it up. People listening in, yeah.
And there was like a kink sex manual. I can't remember the title. Olive Gray drab. I bought it in New York in the old Oscar Wilde bookstore in Greenwich Village, which doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and so there's nothing more powerful than your imagination and the description that Pat Califia had of of leather, the high heeled on point shoes, and so that was my introduction. And then of course back in the late 1980s in New York, you could run around the village, and they had a lot of like mostly gay men oriented in the West Village. And then if you went up to like the old 42nd Street, you would have all the sex shops. Now it's all Disneyfied, and so that was my idea of what like kink was back in the late 1980s, early 1990s, before the internet. It was all filtered through basically either this gay male vision or this kind of sort of like sex worker 42nd Street geared, of course, to straight men. Yeah, the early to mid 90s, I was hanging out in New York City a little bit, although I was not from that area at all. And it was right when that gentrification, that tourist-oriented change was kind of happening in the city. But I still got just a little taste of it on its way out. And that was a seed that kind of hung with me for a while. And it didn't sprout for a bit. But that notion that there was something bigger and broader than porn for the consumption of male gaze, straight male gaze kind of stuff. Yeah. Are you thinking something?
Nope.
No. So I think like what you see and kind of that feeling of authenticity in the space is important, but you also want to fit in. So the all black, the looking a bit more mindful, or some kind of underwear that works for you, or negligee. But I mean, that's if you feel comfortable showing more of your body. Absolutely, I think layering is a great idea. You can have, you can always have infinite grand reveals as you feel comfortable taking off or on more layers.
Yeah, and consider the temperature of the dungeon. I've been getting a lot of emails about people, what should I wear at the play party? And one of them is saying, I have a leather jacket. And I'm thinking...
You can be warm.
Yeah, so like you've got this leather jacket and you're really proud of it, but you're going to be really hot and then your outfit gets ruined when you take it off. So,
well, what my experience has been, well, frankly... whatever you wear within half an hour is going to be off.
Yes. You can't just wear nothing.
You can just wear a raincoat with nothing underneath.
Yeah.
I don't know how the super high femmes do it and keep the makeup intact.
I don't either.
It's a set of skills. It's a set of skills that I do not possess.
Perhaps it's genetic.
Maybe they were born with it. Yes, that's true. Great. So if people are playing, what else should people bring with them? So it would be good to know. Oh, I should let people know that you're listening to 93.3 FM on CFRU, Sexually Charged Radio, or perhaps you're streaming us online or listening to us on YouTube by searching Sexually Charged. If you have a question or topic you'd like us to talk about, you can send it in to AskSC, that's the initials for Sexually Charged, at UOGuelph, GUELPH.ca. And our fantastic interns at Student Wellness, which is a part of Student Affairs, will receive your question or your topic, and some of them get forward to us for radio. And they also do all the editing and really make it possible for us to get these episodes over to CFRU. So lots of appreciation to them. So things that you want to find out about a party, not just the temperature, but maybe like what kind of sex or sexual touching is allowed.
Well, that's really important because,
Yeah.
I mean, is it just going to be play, or is it going to be a real, what are the boundaries? What is permitted in that particular space?
Right. So there may be no genital contact allowed.
Right, exactly.
I've been to parties where, in the United States, where the state laws are such that sex is not allowed, but sex is very heteronormatively defined. So if you're doing somebody with a strap on or hands or mouths, it's not considered sex, so that's okay. But, straight vanilla sex is not okay. You might, what else might you want to find out before you go to a party so you don't embarrass
What
yourself?
kinds of play are allowed? Do they allow wax play? Do they allow fire play? Do they allow needle play? And if you do one of those things, it's probably a good idea to know whether you're going to be allowed to do those things.
What you need to bring or what room.
Yes. And for example, they might allow wax play, but they might not allow open flame, so you have to be ready with your crock pot.
Yes.
Or it might be it's allowed, but only in specific areas of the dungeon space. Yeah.
Yeah, or you might need to sign some kind of waiver. And probably for the stuff that's edgier, there's an assumption or a requirement that people doing it have some knowledge of how to do it, that you're not just coming to learn how, because this is not necessarily a space where somebody's there to teach you unless you're specifically at a teaching, learning event, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what else would you want to know before you get to your party? I'd want to know whether it's primarily straight or primarily queer.
Yeah.
I want to know who's
important.
showing up. Like if I'm going to be the only person who's assigned female at birth, who's in a dominant role there, like my energy needs to be high to not be exhausted by that event. If everybody else is going to be a straight cis man who's telling me that I just haven't met the right straight cis man yet. What else?
Another thing to ask or to know about is what they do at the dungeon to facilitate hookups, which might be our next topic, maybe.
Yeah. So what can be done for that?
One thing that's common is that there's a board on the side somewhere where you can write what you want and look at
an old school cork board.
Yeah, or like a whiteboard where you just write and then erase it when you're done.
Mm-hmm.
So people, let me change the name. But like a lot of people have said stuff like, I'm about to say something funny about this person, but a lot of people write stuff like I'd like to be flogged or I'd like to be spanked or even basic like I'd like to have a conversation about BDSM since I'm really new. But the funniest one I ever saw was somebody who came to one of my parties, and I'll call him Matt. It's not really his name, but he wrote up on the board, Matt likes to be pursued. And the whole night, Matt was pursued.
Wow, that's tempting. That's
good.
I'm getting ideas now.
Yeah.
I don't know how much pursuing I want, but yeah.
And if there's something that gets you off, bring it. Too.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, if there's a toy that you have used on you, even if you're not sure if you're going to find a partner to use that with, like,
Well, heck, I just
bring
went
that.
shopping today. I bought myself a new toy.
Yeah.
What'd you get?
Oh, it's just a waterproof vibrator.
Yeah.
Nice. Not
It's a play
just
battery.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Yes.
And for me, it's silicone, so it's non-allergenic.
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
But sometimes having a toy can be,
Yeah.
and even if it's not an expensive toy, even if it's just something like a ruler,
Yeah.
sometimes that can be an icebreaker where if
Totally.
you want to just break the ice with somebody and maybe you don't plan a whole scene,
Yeah.
you can say, hey, I got this new flogger. Any chance you want to make me see what that feels like? And then you do a few hits and then suddenly you have chemistry and you
Yeah.
end up playing for 2 hours. But if you did 2 hits with this new flogger and that was it, the person could say, thanks very much. That was
Yeah,
great. All right,
okay.
see you
So
later.
fun.
You know.
Yeah.
So an openness to different things happening, but also taking responsibility for bringing what you would like to have with you to have a good time, not as a guarantee that it will happen, but just to set yourself up for success a little more readily, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the spaces will have safer sex supplies, but I always bring mine too.
Yes.
So,
And if you want to be a really conscious lover, you can bring non-latex things or stuff that for folks who might have common sensitivities. I know that's always appreciated. I have those sensitivities, so I always bring my own stuff. A lot of places, play spaces have latex free, but some don't, and I don't have to worry about that.
It's a good idea because even if the person is not allergic, every single time you use a latex glove on them, you're slightly increasing their chance of getting allergic someday.
That's true.
And I'm one who's sensitive to latex. Yeah. So it's very important to have non-latex options.
Totally. I also think about being welcoming, but not being demanding or not having a do-me list. I think we can all identify with meeting people who either expect the dominants to be like dispensers of kink or sex, like they're just there to facilitate and do this for everybody, exactly to the way that the submissive person or whoever it is asks them for it. So they have kind of like their do-me list. But I've seen plenty of entitled tops as well, who initiate touch or are demanding right from the start, or think that because this happened, this other thing can happen. So what are some good mindsets to bring in?
Well, I know one not to bring in, and this happened. Your buddy, someone who people came up to this person, but they kept putting other people off by like, I don't know what I want. I don't know. And sort of going with the flow.
Oh, I remember that person. Well, that person had a mindset. She was gorgeous. She was drop dead gorgeous. And her mindset was that people were going to choose her based on her looks. And in my crowd, that's not the case. People would choose her based on her conversation, based on feeling comfortable, based on feeling a connection. And she didn't have the patience to establish those kinds of things. And she left by 10, stormed out because she's like, I'm here, and no one has picked me. And that's not really how it is.
Right.
It's not based on your looks at most
I don't know
parties.
what I want means I'm not ready to do this.
Right.
And overtures such as, hey, how about a massage? Well, then, if you don't feel comfortable, the next thing is the ability to sort of, even if you're tentative, just sort of articulate what you maybe, I don't know, if I'm not comfortable with that, but maybe this, or let's just hang out, or just hang out, or something.
Mm-hmm.
But or be willing at least to initiate the conversation, or to have a conversation, rather than just expect that the other person is going to
magically
sweep
read
you
your
off
mind.
your feet,
Right.
read
Yeah.
your mind,
Yeah.
and carry you to a dungeon station and make something wonderful happen.
That is so much unreasonable pressure for a top or a dominant to expect them to read your mind, do everything right, do it just the way you want, figure out your consent for you, figure out your fantasies for you, give you the pleasure that you know how to ask for. Like, if somebody wants to play with me that way, I am not going to consent to trying to figure out someone else's consent.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not going to consent to try to figure out somebody else's pleasure. Like, maybe we don't know what we want to do with each other yet because we need to figure out the energy a little. In which case, maybe the person talking to me is like, I like a whole bunch of things kind of maybe in the areas of this or that, but I'd love to spend a little time chatting and see like what kind of sparks between the two of us. That's different than, I don't know. I'm not responsible for that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you think I'm good looking or not?
Yeah.
Like, basically, it more
Not
or less was the
anymore.
attitude.
Right. Yeah. Attraction isn't like, I think really what we're talking about, and attraction is expectations. Being around it and having realistic expectations.
But I think to some extent, if I can talk just briefly about the difference between straight and queer, I mean, there are some straight communities, maybe not all, where that's what it's about. It's about, and maybe some gay male communities, but in the all gender queer community in which I am, the conversation is super important.
Yeah.
It's not really about the looks. You could be butt ugly, and
You got
get a
great
lot of play
energy,
all day if you
and-
got great energy
Yeah.
and your communication is good and people feel safe with you. There's at the parties that I go to, your looks. There is no way that the people that are better looking conventionally are getting more play.
Yeah.
But this person that we are talking about did come from more of a straight background, and she was kind of used to cishet guys taking one look at her and saying, "That's the one I want." And it wasn't happening at our party, and she was mystified.
And so maybe those were partners who were willing to try to intuit all those things. But it goes great until the day it goes wrong, right?
Yep.
So I'm wondering about any good tips for boundary setting for folks on the submissive side or who want a bottom, which means that generally speaking, you might be the folks more likely to be receiving sensation or receiving penetration. Of course, that's a huge generalization. But if you haven't been to an event like this, how can people think about setting up those boundaries for their own safety and saying yes, saying no, all that sort of stuff? Your tips, your ideas.
Well, I think I'll speak as someone who's top. The thing as a top is to
have a lot of control and self-awareness to always be in touch with your bottom. You know, to always to check in and to not get lost in your own pleasure and your own head.
So as a
To
bottom,
always
to be
be
looking
aware.
for somebody who
Right.
is
And to
staying in
watching
touch
for-
and not being
right,
selfish.
watching for the signals, you know, keeping
Yeah.
the communication and the eye contact, or even just being able to sense if you're touching someone in their body, whether that's a response is a pleasurable response for them, or one of recoil, or angst, or maybe you've triggered something in them physically that they may not be able to articulate.
Sure. Buttons, can we make you the representative to give us some
Yeah.
tips from your side in our last remaining minute and a half?
Sure. I don't play with people, or I don't play when I don't feel comfortable saying these are my no's.
Mhm.
And also, as a bottom, learning the difference between I'm like pushing myself to take this amount of pain or whatever it is, and it's fucking hot and fun, versus I'm pushing myself and it's not actually like for me. It's because I'm trying to like do the right thing, or like performative. Like that'll get me into a place I don't want to be real fast. And so learning that difference in me and feeling confident to say to communicate some way with my top, that I need this to slow down or change or whatever. So.
And I think it's if I can add another thing onto that briefly, I think it's also okay to give your consent a step at a time and decide if the next thing is okay or not, and to communicate that, like, this is okay for me now, let's see how it goes, and I may or may not be okay for the next thing. And I would say that anyone who is pushy to say okay to everything all at once is probably not a good partner at this time and place.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for your amazing thoughts on this stuff, and hope this is helpful for people who are listening. And I always value the opportunity to kind of capture some of these very kind of rare and valuable conversations that come up amongst folks. So thank you so much for listening, our listeners, to Sexually Charged Radio on 93.3 FM CFRU.